Hey everybody, welcome to What Drives Us, episode 243 for September 6, 2017. Our first show from the exciting new Escondido, California studio, which you can see is somewhat unpacked behind me.
Yay.
West Coast. Okay, enough of that. Luckily for all of you, it is not a solo show. No, even that man guzzling a beer, he plays an important role here. All of these gentlemen here are going to bring knowledge and wisdom and maybe a little bit of humor into our exciting topics, as with every week. So let's introduce them and get this show on the road. The man in the red shirt, maybe the nicest guy on the panel. You can say that because he's Canadian. Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Good day, and welcome to the Great White North. That may come up later in the show, but welcome everybody. We're glad to see you, and let's get going.
For those of you playing Beer Hunter at home, that's all I'm going to say. Speaking of the Beer Hunter, our man in Illinois, my wingman on this show, and just a general all-around good guy, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey everybody, good to be here. I have a Goose Island 312. It's one of my favorite go-to beers, Goose Island, Chicago.
Is that 312 ounces or?
It's the old area code of Chicago.
It's the current area code of Chicago. And so there are a lot of offshoots, of course, like up here, Lake County, 847 is the area code. So you have some microbrews that have their take on a 312, and they call it an 847. And
so it's not the alcohol content.
No.
No, thank God. Yeah. Yes.
Well, in Utah, it would be 3.2.
Boo, yes.
Could be a 312 double play.
Well, speaking of high alcohol content, our man in Portland, Oregon, is sometimes powered by beer, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Yeah, no beer for me tonight, but shout out to the West Coast.
Russ is here now. There we go. The symbol. He flashes the symbol.
Wow.
What's this in the house?
I can't even do that with my hand.
Thank you.
You're on the east coast of Canada. So.
That's the problem.
You're not allowed, okay? It's not in your genes. And last and certainly not least, our man on the Great Divide. He is also somewhat alcohol-powered because he's off work now, not while he's working on your cars. The founder of Boulder Hybrids, Mr. Paul Guzzi.
Hey everybody, glad to be back. And today I'm drinking Buffalo Gold, local beer in Boulder here, just down the street. Someone left them in our fridge, so that's what gets drunk tonight.
Gold, like a euphemism for something?
Mm-hmm. No, we get gratuities. People we've trained our customers well.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
So these aren't like Buffalo Golden Showers.
Right.
What's Urban Dictionary say? Somebody go look it up.
That's where I was going. Like, I want some Buffalo Gold, baby.
It's like Rocky Mountain oysters, right?
Yeah. This ain't Boulder. You don't get that everywhere, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, Sweaty Betty giving you some Buffalo Gold.
Yeah.
Don't. Why'd you go there?
Sweaty Betty was like a couple weeks ago.
That was a couple weeks ago.
Well, so let's start the show off with a little feature Patrick Connor likes to call Russell's Rant. And since we took a week off, I've had a week to save it up.
Oh, boy.
Look at it.
I got a little bit of steam built up here. One of my favorite news sources these days, Electrek. Yesterday, Mr. Fred Lambert, their editor-in-chief, posted a story. And I'm going to read the headline, and then I'm going to make some bad faces. The headline is, and I quote, Toyota chairman explains why they are falling behind with electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everybody's wondering why is Toyota falling behind with electric vehicles? Well, I'm going to screw this name up. My apologies, sir, because I don't mean to do that. But Takeshi Uchiyamada, Toyota's chairman, apparently talking about what's going on, why they're not making more EVs, said, and I have to quote this, It's a little bit long, but forgive me. But I do want it to be his words, not mine. Quote, he told CNBC the following, quote, "I must say up front that we're not against electric vehicles, but in order for electric vehicles to cover long distances, they currently need to be loaded with a lot of batteries that take a considerable amount of time to charge. There's also the issue of battery life. But as laws and regulation that encourage the development of electric vehicles come into effect in places like China and the US, car makers will have no choice but to roll out electric vehicles or risk going out of business. Toyota is no exception, but we're skeptical there would be a rapid shift to pure electric vehicles, given questions over user convenience." This is what you call being fucking deluded.
Because, like, hello, Tesla's got like 500,000 orders.
Exactly. All due respect to Mr. Uchi Yamada, Toyota's chairman, who certainly is not a stupid person. But certainly we all have biases. We all have prejudices. We all have things that we like. And I've said this before, a lot of times people assume that the people who run corporations, even big, huge corporations, are super, super smart. They're the best people. They earned it. And sometimes it's just the dude who didn't piss anybody off. Sometimes it's somebody's cousin. Sometimes it's someone that doesn't have a vision. It doesn't have a lot of, I don't know what to say. I guess a lot of vision. It just doesn't have some sort of idea of where they're going to go in the future. And they're just kind of doing what they do. Let's be clear. Toyota makes a lot of money making gasoline engines. And they probably will for a long time. But Toyota's also been one of the biggest companies to lag behind in EVs. To the extent that they don't have a single EV on the market. Well, one little asterisk, the Mirai, which is an EV, it just has a stupid way of storing energy.
Right.
That was just so silly
call
because
it an EV though. Because when people say EV, they mean battery electric vehicle. Yes, it has an electric drivetrain. You can't argue that. It has electric drive, but I would not call it an EV without qualifying it.
Yes, I agree. I would not call it an EV without qualifying it, but it is an EV. It's just, like I said, has a stupid way of storing the energy. Fair enough?
Yeah, and Toyota does market it and has many times, defended it as an EV. But yeah,
But it's to their advantage. They frame it that way, and then when it's not, they're like, "Oh, EVs are horrible and fuel cells are so much better." So they try to play both sides of that coin.
Right. But they make their money, to Russell's point, on high efficiency internal combustion engines.
Right, and so they, of course, want to keep the whole world in that paradigm as long as possible, which is why fuel cells are a great thing for them to say, well, that's the future, because it's not very viable right now. There's just not enough infrastructure to make that anything significant. There's electrical outlets all over the place. So, of course, Toyota likes the status quo. They make a lot of money off the status quo, and fuel cells are a way for things to really just stay the same, not some new vision of a new future. It's a way to keep it exactly like it is.
I agree. Right.
Yeah,
I think this is.
I did want to add in Toyota's defense. Back in the early 2000s, they did have the RAV4 EV, which was a hell of a car at the time. And it's too bad they didn't keep evolving that from 15 years ago.
They made not one, but two RAV4 EVs.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the second one was
Tesla
kind of
made the
Tesla
second
made.
one.
Yeah.
They supplied the chassis.
I understand, but it was a Toyota badged vehicle.
Right.
They've done this twice with the same vehicle. And yet, to date, we've still got nothing.
But his argument is half-baked and stupid at best.
Yeah.
His argument is, we have nothing against EVs. We're just not going to do it until you force our hand.
Right.
So that's what? Wait, what? I have nothing against, I have nothing against cleaning my room, but you're going to have to threaten to ground me in order to make me do it. I mean, what kid has ever said that? Yeah, right. You can't say I have nothing against it and then follow that up with, but you're going to have to force us to do it. And the argument about, they currently need to be loaded with a lot of batteries, and but
so
that's why you have an R&D department. That's why you have people looking into this. For a long time, and I'm just going to make this me.
maybe other people here have defended Toyota, saying, well, maybe they know something we don't. Maybe there's something going on there. Maybe they're working on something behind the scenes. Toyota, like Apple, doesn't necessarily, telegraph their intent.
They're not that transparent.
Yeah, they tend to wait until they've got something done, nailed down, and then they'll start talking about it. So, maybe there's an EV, but the problem is, again, acting as though EVs aren't practical ignores those hundreds of thousands of Model 3 reservations and the thousands of Teslas that are already on the road. Very expensive vehicles, mind you, that Toyota probably wouldn't mind selling, that's eating into Lexus sales without a doubt.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little bit, but whatever. When you can, take a bite off the ass of a huge multinational company like Toyota and Lexus, you're doing okay. You're doing something right.
Right, and you have GM spending so much money in coming out with the Bolt. And you have, Nissan half-assedly coming out with another generation of the Leaf.
Wait.
We'll get there. You have other
I'd say
manufacturers.
3/4 of an ass.
Yeah, you have other manufacturers that are putting money in this arena and doing nothing. Yeah.
I agree. And you know what? I think we've said it. I want to move on because I have a feeling we're having a very interesting discussion about the Leaf tonight. So let's turn the next article over to Tony. Tony's got something from the UK.
Yeah, so the nice, ever-friendly Brits might not be the case, according to this. In a online magazine called the Evening Standard, standard.co.uk, there's a concern of charge rage, which here I can share this.
It sounds kind of made up.
Yeah, I know, but the point is kind of acceptable, that you do run into the possibility that in the future you could have one charge available for every 15 cars. Now, they say by the year 2031, just kind of a long way out there. But the point here is, as people are competing for plug-ins, then you could have the possibility of somebody parking their car and leaving it there even after their car is fully charged. We all know that it's rude to unplug someone else's EV. But, if somebody needs that plug and someone's been parked there for a long time and you can tell that their car is fully charged, you might be tempted to unplug it and plug in your own car. And then that person comes walking out and they yell at you for touching their car, and fights ensue. And we all know how those hooligans get, because they're all drunk all the time. And, you have a good old-fashioned EV throwdown. So it brings up the point of what happens when we do have that, as we like to paint it, utopia, where electric vehicles outnumber gasoline vehicles and everybody goes to the mall at the same time, or the movie, or the restaurant, and there are half as many plugs as there are electric vehicles. It's going to be first come, first serve. That's how it's always happened. But then what about that person who is an EV and they're running out of range, and that plug-in hybrid is sitting in that spot?
Well, by then the autonomous cars will all be here, so the car will just back itself away from the charger and go sit somewhere else, and your car will automatically go in.
I would love to think that. Yes. So it is one of these things where, we know there's a certain etiquette to charging. There's EV etiquette. We've talked about that several times. But as more people buy electric vehicles or anything, we could run into the situation where people who don't fully understand or agree with the etiquette are going to start having these cars. Then you run into the situation that you could have road rage and plug rage and charge rage, or whatever you want to call it.
I did talk to a Tesla owner that after the eclipse in Wyoming, the Tesla supercharger, I think there's one or two in Wyoming right now, had like a four-car deep waiting list to get charged up to get home, because everybody drove up from Denver and they couldn't get home without doing that. So
right.
Yep. I was in Woodburn, Oregon. They have a supercharger there, and we pulled in. There was two other cars there, and then I went out to move it when I got the notification that it was full. And actually, I had enough. There were 2 cars waiting. So it was like, wow, there's a whole lot of people coming here because Woodburn, Oregon was in the path of totality and they have a supercharger.
Yeah.
Nice.
But with enough stalls, people are coming and going quickly. And the way that Tesla has it, they have the idle fees. So if you stay plugged in after you're full, they start charging you fees, where it's free before that, at least with the current system. I mean, that's the right way to do it. If you have the opposite, where you're charging people fees until the car is full, and then you stop charging them fees, now you've given them no reason to leave.
No incentive to leave.
Yeah, the fees need to double or triple after the car is full, if there were any to begin with.
Fair enough.
Right.
Can you pre-reserve a charge as you're coming up to the station if it's full?
Nope, it's all first come, first serve.
Yeah.
And I just ran into this. I went to there's a new casino here in Washington called Ilani, and I didn't need to charge, but I did walk by just to check out the charging stations. And there was a Chevy Bolt the guy needed to plug in, but the 4 spots were full. One of them was iced, but they didn't have any proper signage. So you can't totally blame the ICE driver. I mean, I guess you can if you want to, but
you can always throw a brick through their window.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But as EVs get longer range, the need for the public infrastructure decreases. I'm not going to say it goes away, but right now, I mean, Tony, the estimate you gave was what if there's twice as many electric cars there as there are charging stations? I would say great, because probably only a quarter of those electric cars need to charge. So they probably have twice as many as they need.
Yeah, I would like to think that people are charging at home when possible. You know, that they won't just run to the restaurant or the movie and then decide they're going to replace those 5 miles of charge they just burned, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So the number that I've heard is for every 4 electric cars that are sold, you need 5 charging stations, and 4 of those are in someone's home, and then the 5th one is a public one.
I think a lot of these things will work themselves out. I hate to say that because it's like a non-answer. It'll be fine. But I mean, we have, again, gone through these big changes, these paradigm shifts, and we'll figure it out.
Right, because if it's a problem, then there's a business opportunity. If there's a business opportunity, someone will fill the void.
Right, and it's the best problem to have. I would rather have this problem than worrying about how I'm going to make more gas stations. So
yeah, hold on a second, guys. I got to text. Yeah. Right. No, we don't. We don't. Okay, guys, it's our lawyer. We do not condone it. You throw bricks through people's windows. Yeah, I just told him.
I didn't say that. I just imagined it.
Yeah, he said somebody could, not that he recommended it.
All right.
Our attorney's no fun at all.
I know. I hate that guy.
Speaking of no fun at all.
Actually, they shouldn't be bricks. They should be big lumps of coal.
Wait, hold on. I got to take this.
Coal is legal. Bricks are not. Every once in a while, I come across something, and I'll mention it on the show that we reported on, that we talked about, blah, 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 and it's because the show's been around for a while. This is our 8th year. We've done this 7 years already.
Yeah.
Way back in 2013, we talked about a story. This was actually probably, I think it was in the first January of 2014. There's a futurist. We all know what futurists are, right? Futurists are really smart people that think about the future a lot. Named Lars Thompson. He's German, and he's represented by some high-profile people, not the least of which is the London Speaker Bureau. You can hire Lars Thompson to be a keynote speaker on the future. I'm reading right from the London Speakers Bureau page here. The future, technology, innovation, creativity, society, and education. His topics are the future and technology, which is good for a futurist. You would expect him to talk about it. Anyway, Mr. Thompson gave a speech in Austria in September of 2013, and the gist of the speech was this: electric cars are so disruptive that they will make gasoline cars obsolete starting in 2016, or much earlier than most other analysts suggest. So it's 2017. It's September of 2017. We want to look around the world. see if Mr. Thompson maybe. Yeah, he missed that one big time. And
Yeah, he
don't get
only
me
gave him
wrong.
3 years.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't appreciate his optimism, as I think I did when we originally reported this story. It's going to be quicker than some people imagine, and not as quick as others hope for. And that's the way these changes happen. And it's been incredible, the acceptance of electric vehicles, and as many have been sold, and what's available now. Of course, we're leaving Toyota out of the picture, right? Because
Yeah.
but we're not. Gas cars aren't quite obsolete.
Well, okay, so let me defend him, because when we talked about this a few years ago, I said the guy's an idiot, and that as a futurist, the only way you can get attention is to say something outlandish and crazy, and that's what he was doing. But there's a story here from Electrek again, July 4th, that says electric cars reach a record 42% of Norway's total new car sales. Serious disruption.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't call it obsolete, but
That's pretty
you can't ignore
significant.
42% of new
Right.
car sales.
He just didn't say which country.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that we're not all cheering on his side. I think everyone here is.
Right.
It's just that, sometimes that's sort of like not quite well thought out optimism maybe doesn't help. That's all. It wasn't a rant. It was just one of those little things that I saw. Let's see who's talking about our next story. I have to look at my notes.
So I wanna say something here,
No.
for you guys.
Okay.
No. Sorry, Tony. The lawyer told you to shut
Well,
up.
I'm just gonna play Beer Hunter. So I did, as was hinted. I guess I had been looking. I had my eyes out for something, and I did actually purchase something within the last week, and I was really excited about it.
Does it have a plug?
Well, I actually found a copy of Bob and Doug's Great White North, and I'm actually quite excited by this. Even though I don't have a turntable, I'm really excited to actually that I found it and I have it. Oh, also I bought a Prime.
There we go.
What?
Did the album come with the car? Was that one of those giveaways?
It was in the back. You have good customers. I have mine. Yes. Yeah. So this is me at the dealership. Smart Toyota, Kenosha. Wow, not Kenosha, Madison,
Kenosha,
Wisconsin. Yeah. And I have to say, I don't do commercials or plugs or whatever, but I actually do recommend Smart Toyota to people. They're good people, it turns out.
It was better than a root canal experience?
It was much better than a root canal. Yes.
They didn't tell you there are none in the state and you have to go 300 miles to get one?
Actually, okay.
Did you have to buy the undercoating and the
No. So
on the windows?
one of the reasons I went to Smart is because for the many years I'd gone to Hybrid Fest and Green Drive Expo, Smart Toyotas had a spot, and it was usually manned by a guy named John Dolan, who is Smart's head hybrid guy, and John knows his stuff. He knows it cold. So sitting down with him and talking hybrids, talking the future of transportation, I mean, he's there. So it was pretty much a no-brainer for me to go work with somebody who can actually talk at our level and understand it. It also helped that he plugs in his Prime at Smart, so he can charge it for the drive home. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the primary reasons I went to Smart. And then everybody I met there, just super people. So yeah, I mean, again, I do recommend Smart Toyota to anybody who's in the southern Wisconsin or northern Illinois area. So I've had it for about a week now. I drove from Madison, Wisconsin to my home in northern Illinois, north of Chicagoland. And that was the only time I've burned gas in the last week. That was 104 miles. I averaged just shy of 79 miles per gallon on that drive. And those of you who know me, can appreciate when I say I wasn't even trying. So this was right out of the box. The car didn't know my driving style. I didn't know the car's driving style. I was basically just driving and playing with things, messing with dynamic cruise control, trying to figure out what satellite stations I liked. And let's just say I accidentally got almost 80 miles per gallon in hybrid mode.
And what's your lifetime to date average now?
Oh, it's like 999.9. Yeah.
It won't go over 100 again, like the old.
Well, I won't go over. I won't go 1,000. Yeah, in lifetime. But one of the things that's interesting is the car is rated at 25 miles on per charge, and so here's a picture I took. That I took it this morning or this afternoon as I was leaving work. And so it tells me the distance.
341 miles.
341 miles is what I'm averaging. No, actually, there is a decimal right here, but it was raining.
It's hard to tell the difference from a decimal and raindrop.
It is between raindrops. But so one of the cool things about the Prime is, and people on Prius chat have talked about this extensively, as you learn the car, it learns you. So
really?
it starts
some AI agent in there.
Yeah. I've seen this number go up and up and up. And in fact, when I first got in the car, it told me I had like 21.8 miles of range the first day I drove it. And then it was 24, and then it was 26, then 28. Now I've worked my way up to 34.1 is my expected range on a full charge.
Well, I've heard they've sort of under-promised and people are over-delivering the results.
Yeah, that's easy to believe.
Well, so wait, go back to that picture. Is that a HUD?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and also that's a heads-up display.
Yeah. What do you think about the heads-up display?
Yeah. Okay. I absolutely love it. So you can see I get the power meter here. So when it's an EV, it just shows me how much pressure. But it does allow me to, when I accelerate, of course, it comes up here, and then I get up to speed, and I try to, keep it as low as possible, and
and then below that bar is
and below it is actually full color. Well, full color is the sort of glowish green, and then there's like some blue and some green and some red. But yeah, I'll tell you, yeah, I have really come to love the heads-up display. It's what I was going to say it's what I look at the most, but of course it is because it's on the windshield. But yeah,
looking to the side is not.
Other drivers have told me they really dig the adaptive cruise control.
Yeah, and I only got to really mess with that the one time from Madison to home, and yeah, I have to admit I really loved that. This is the first car. I did borrow an Avalon a couple of years ago that had a dynamic radar cruise control, and drove that on the interstate, and that was really kind of neat. But yeah, it's a totally new take on cruise control for anyone who's just accustomed to cruise control. This is cruise control to the next level. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the heads-up display.
Okay.
When it's bright out and the sun hits it wrong, does it just wash out and you can't see it?
There have been a couple of times, and it's primarily based on whatever's on the other side. So in that picture, I was fortunate because it was the shadow of the car on the other side of the parking lot. If the car in front of me, like a white van or something, but so far I haven't had a situation in which the sun seemed to drown it out.
Okay, so it's more about what's in front of you. If it's light or white, it's harder to see.
Yeah, it just blends in with it. I did try to take a picture, but I was outside and I had the garage door closed. That it was just like white on white, and it washed it out.
It's a
and nighttime. It's totally easy to see.
Oh yeah, well, nighttime of course is the best, and the brightness is controllable right there on the steering wheel. You can make it brighter or darker on your needs, and I turned it down just because I didn't want it just blaring in my eyes. I tend to turn things down.
And then you have that same readout in other places, right? I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
My question, of course, to Tony is, how do you like the steering wheel?
Oh, the steering wheel has all the right rocker switches. Yes, yes. It's kind of a standard. Well, I mean, for anyone who's driven a Prius, understands it's kind of a standard Prius steering wheel. It's got the 2 round, on for each thumb, up, down, left, right. The push buttons in the middle. The left side is all infotainment. You do your tuning, your volume up and down. The right side is more interacting with the car, changing the display on the dashboard, adjusting some settings, or toggling through screens. But the one thing I don't like about the steering wheel, I have to say, is 13 years with my 04 Prius, and I could hold the bottom of the steering wheel. And so now this steering wheel has that thing where the bottom of the steering wheel is closed out, and I have to like relearn how to hold a steering wheel, which is really weird. I know that's just a picky thing.
You'll get used to it.
Yeah.
Just get a Sawzall and cut the bottom piece out.
There you go.
I thought about that. Yeah, I figured there'd be no harm in doing that.
No, not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
A little Bondo on each end, and you're good.
Yeah.
Some duct tape.
The HUD in the Prime is marvelous.
Is it one of those where it's it looks like it's in front of you, so you don't have to change your focal distance?
Yeah, it literally looks like it is about halfway out the hood.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, the HUD is on top of the hood.
The HUD is literally on top of the hood. Yeah, it's
Is on the hood.
Well, good job with that photo. That'd make it hard to focus.
Right.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, but
I did. I took some coworkers for a drive, and one of them is very picky. So I had him sit in the driver's seat, and then turned the car on, and then had him, look. And I'm like, okay, now it was actually kind of weird because he wasn't accustomed to something being there. So I had to like explain to him because we were sitting in the parking lot. I said, now look as though you're looking at the car in front of you. And he's like, what? I'm like, how do you not see this? Okay, look right. And then finally it just clicked, and he was like, holy shit, it's right there. He said, you have a heads-up display.
It's like one of those
But
stereographs.
Tony, you got to
posters.
tell all your coworkers the car is the biggest piece of shit you ever bought, so they don't buy them and then fight for the
Wow.
margins.
I know. I ruined that because I took him around the block, which in our area is kind of a large, circle. And I did kind of chirp the tires coming out of the parking lot. And then at one point took a curve, not a turn, but more of a curve. And I was accelerating through it. And the car handles very well. Of course, everyone who's driven any
Isn't that the one that robbed the bank?
that was the liftback.
or GP.
Everybody who knows an EV knows you have all the weight down low and
Right.
your center of gravity, and so it handles so much better. And I was just accelerating through this turn, and even I was just grinning ear to ear because it was just a lot of fun, and they were just hanging on. And I got to tell you, I don't know the number of times my coworkers in the car said, "This is no Prius." And they were basing it on everything they knew. And by the time we got back in, the guy got out, he lifted the hatchback, and he sized it to see if he could fit his golf clubs back there. And he was like, this just might be my next car.
Wow. Just don't bring it to work until you get more.
And don't get
chargers.
red. And yeah,
Nicely done. Well, congratulations on the new car.
yeah.
Tim.
Absolutely.
Thanks. I'm now officially a plug-in, a member of the plug-in community.
That's
All
right.
right.
Your membership's on the way.
Oh, thanks. I expect a card and a glow-in-the-dark tuning.
Something else for anyone who is still to buy their Prime. I hear they're selling the pants off of them in the CARB Northeast states like New York and Connecticut, and
Yeah.
they're selling them quite a bit below sticker. So
Mhm.
if you're
Really?
willing to drive or fly to New York or Connecticut, you can get a hell of a deal on a Prime right now.
That's crazy.
That was an option, and I do know people in Prius Chat who have done exactly that. It's a me thing. I didn't want to get in an airplane, fly 500 miles or so, and essentially feel like I'm at the whim
Right.
of a dealership who knows I have no
you're taking the
fallback.
bus home if you don't do a deal.
Exactly. And I don't care how many emails go back and forth and how much, electronic, you have my word kind of thing. I just didn't want to put myself in that situation. So I suck it up.
But what was interesting is Toyota's making sure the CARB states have plenty of them.
Mhm.
But here in Colorado, where there's a big benefit to the consumer, they're still scarce because Toyota doesn't get any points selling them in Colorado.
Yeah.
Right. And I had to wait
Well-
almost 4 months for mine. I had to order it out of Smart.
Wow.
It sounds like Colorado should join the CARB states.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
They've got emissions tests already. You think they would just, join up?
Yep. So at some point, hopefully in the near future, expect a full review. I plan on doing a whole write-up like I do other cars.
Awesome.
Just like the Batmobile.
And in the meantime, we do have a Prius Prime review on youtube.com/RickDrivesus. You can read my experience, then soon you can get Tony's slant on it, which I guarantee is going to be different than mine. I promise you that. So
Yeah, the only thing that's holding me up is I was halfway through an audiobook when I got the car, so I want to finish the book. So I'm actually paying more attention to the book than I am the car at this point.
nice. Well, speaking of new cars, I want to jump ahead and talk about something that happened last night. Some of you may have been tuned in and watched us do the live stream of the Nissan Leaf debut. And if you didn't miss much. Which isn't to say anything bad about the car, just the event itself wasn't super exciting. There wasn't a lot of amazing information revealed. We got to see the car, and that's great. But I want to talk about that, and maybe Mark, do you mind just giving some insight on that, and then maybe Patrick, just because Patrick, I know you're a former Leaf owner.
Yeah, it was an event that happened in Japan, and the information was in metric, so we all kind of struggled initially to figure out what was going on. But with some help, we got through it, and it turns out that the first number they threw up was a 400-kilometer range, which we found out shortly after was the Japanese standard, not the EPA number. So it is wildly optimistic, to say the least. And then from that, it rolled into, we did find out it had a 40-kilowatt battery. And the car will be going on sale this half of the year, or the last half of the year. And then we found out North America is probably going to be January, as opposed to the last half of this year. So that was the short update that we got from the video. And actually, a lot of the information came from car magazines that had got the information ahead of time and published it immediately as the event began.
Yeah.
And is it going to be manufactured in Tennessee still or in Japan?
It was not said. I gotta believe, though, that with a facility in Tennessee, they're going to, but that's speculation.
Yeah.
And they did say they would
that-
start shipping in Japan first, so I assume that they're going to start making them in Japan first as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. It looks kind of like a Bolt.
It does.
Body does.
Kind of. It's like
Not
stretched
quite,
out, maybe.
not quite tall enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody said it looks like a Versa.
I agree.
Hmm.
So the Leaf was modified Versa.
Originally,
Yeah, and now a lot of the things, like it had the weird juke headlights, and now they've taken that off, which I think makes it look more like the original Versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some interesting stuff. I was off and on paying attention and watching you guys last night, and there was some back and forth in the chat.
That's the greatest review ever.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Russell said, he didn't miss much.
Thanks.
Oh, you're talking about our show, not the car.
Oh, I thought you were too.
No.
No. So there was discussion, and 153 miles was thrown around, which was later confirmed to be more accurate EPA expectation. And in addition, And I still have my notes from the Model 3 release where I made some notes for myself about, on average, Tesla owners realize about 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Some cars are closer to 3, some there's some all the way down to 2.5. So I made some real quick calculations, taking 3 miles per kilowatt hour and 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and on a 40 kilowatt hour pack, with 3 miles, it's only 120 miles, and even if you get 3.5 miles, it's 140 miles. So the question of how they're going to get a 40 kilowatt hour pack to do, 150 or more miles is,
well, I wouldn't use a Tesla as the comparison.
Well, no, I wasn't
They're heavier
necessarily
vehicles.
even using the Tesla. It was, I did some research to get these numbers.
Yeah, I've seen as high as 4 miles per kilowatt hour. So then you could get 150 to 160 out of it.
Yeah, so
It also
in
depends
the Leaf,
how you
that's
drive,
about what I get.
terrain and the weather.
Right. I was seeing more things skewed lower. I didn't see anything skewed higher.
Yeah, so in the Tesla, I get it's about 350 watt hours per mile for my driving, and it's more like 250 in the Leaf. So, yeah, so I get about 3 miles per kilowatt hour in the Tesla and about 4 miles per kilowatt hour in the Leaf.
Okay.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So the big question, I think, or one of the big questions in my head was, is Nissan going to update their thermal management of their battery pack? And Nissan totally didn't answer that.
Yeah.
Right.
In the subsequent stories that I've seen from the big car rags, nobody really knows. Motor Trend did mention that they didn't mention it. But no one's figured that out yet. And I have to think that if you're not talking about it, there's probably nothing to talk about, which means air cooled.
Yeah, there's still some parts on that car that just feel low tech for such a high tech car.
I don't know if it means they could have quietly fixed it and don't want to tout how wrong they were in the past.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So I'll reserve judgment until we have data, because either way, there's no real reason for them to talk about it. Whether they did it, they probably don't want to talk about it, and if they didn't, they definitely don't want to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I get that from a legal standpoint or from an embarrassment standpoint. The other part of it is, though, if you're a knowledgeable EV person and you live in the Southwest, mentioning it makes it a much more attractive vehicle than ignoring it.
Right.
Because that's certainly on anyone's mind that knows anything about the history of the Leaf or EVs even, is that, you want some kind of temperature management.
And other manufacturers are doing some neat stuff. We had a 2016 BMW 330e in the shop, and a plug-in hybrid, and the owners spilled milk in the trunk area of the car, and it got in everywhere under the battery pack.
No.
Just smelled like the most nastiest thing. And so the detail shop said, hey, can you pull the battery? Went to pull the battery out. We realized it's hooked into the HVAC system, basically had air conditioning lines going to the battery. So we had to evacuate the refrigerant before we could remove the battery out of the car, which is extra work, but it was nice to see that BMW put that into the design. So.
Yep.
Wow.
And never spill milk in your car. It is the nastiest thing. It took a week to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yikes.
And you don't want to know what the customer paid for.
No.
And it was not covered by BMW, even though it's a new car. Because it wasn't.
Yeah, they don't tend to cover milk spills, huh?
No. And especially stinky milk spills in the summertime.
I'm surprised the trunk isn't sealed, especially if it got down onto the battery. You think of all things they would want to protect the battery from.
Well, the battery itself was sealed, but it went under the battery. Like there's a little sort of airspace below the battery in the well of like where your spare tire would be, kind of. And all the milk got in there, and it just started fermenting or whatever bad milk does. And it was so nasty. And the only way to clean it was to pull the battery out. And even the 12-volt batteries in the trunk on that car got under the 12-volt battery. It just got everywhere. You know, it went to the lowest point in the car.
Wow.
Wow. How much
So
milk
it
was
didn't,
these
it
guys
didn't get
hauling?
into the battery system. Luckily,
Right.
the battery pack is sealed, but it got into.
So, moral of the story: haul your milk in the back seat.
Or get like a tub to put your milk jug
Yes,
in.
a tub.
Mhm.
Yes.
Or like a weather tack or something to catch it. You know.
Nice. There was an interesting sort of coda to the Motor Trend article. It bookends the thing. He starts, or they start talking about it and then end talking about this. Apparently, some engineer in Japan at the release hinted that there will be a Nismo version of the Leaf.
That makes sense. They've done that in the past.
I've long said there should be a TRD Prius, but I just get laughed at.
Right. And but they did specifically say that there would be a better Leaf coming next year.
Right.
Yes, they did.
So, hey, we just introduced our new car, but if you're smart, you won't buy it.
You will wait until the 60 kilowatt battery arrives.
Well, they're just
Exactly.
trying to clutter the mind share with people on the Tesla list. You know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm sure that's working for them.
Yeah.
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 Well,
that's gonna,
there certainly are people who have Leafs now, and we're looking for a 200-mile Leaf, and they like Nissan. They wanted to stick with Nissan, and this didn't do it for them. And maybe they have a lease, or they just want to keep their Leaf for another year, and so it could actually have prevented people that would leave to go buy a Bolt or a Model 3 to stick with the Nissan.
And
brand
there's
in life.
certainly a lot of people who 100-mile range is not enough, but 150 will be fine. So
Exactly.
they might be fine with this.
Yeah, and this is the cool thing. Now we have the Leaf at 150 for 30,000, and then the Tesla standard range for 35 at 220 miles, and then you've got the Bolt EV at 37,000, which is what, Mark, 238.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Tesla long range for what would it be? 44,000 at 310. So you've got a whole spectrum from 150 to 310, and of course there's a price jump with each of those, but you find where you fit in that spectrum for your needs and what you can afford.
there you go.
And it's just like the Prime versus the Volt. You know, for some people, the Prime's EV range is enough for their commute, and they're fine with that. Other people need more, so they get the Volt. So,
Right.
and they pay the premium for the Volt.
Yeah, and I made this argument. I mean, again, it's certainly my point of view, but I mean, if you're going to do something with the hybrid range in the Prime is the better. You know, I mean, if you're doing a lot of long trips, the Prime's potentially a better candidate than the Volt. I mean,
But
they're
a lot of plug-in hybrid users use the gas engine like twice a month.
right. Absolutely.
That's
Like
me.
Mark, yeah, how often does your gas engine come on, right?
Right.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I just got over 1,000 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
So I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Oh, see, it's got more digits than Tony's car. It
Yep.
can go over 1,000.
I can go over 1,000.
I'm trying to remember what the Prime MPG meter goes to, Tony. What is it?
Well, in per trip, it's 199.9, and then I've seen for lifetime it's 999.9.
Up to 1,000.
I've seen that. Yeah.
What about the odometer? Does it end like the 0405 Priuses at 29999 and that's it?
I don't know yet.
You have to tell us when you get there.
Yeah, I do. So there's the Entune app
Oh no.
and the thing they call the Eco Dashboard.
Yeah.
And I don't know
And
if
how,
this
how,
is
how good does it suck?
it's updating. Well, you know what I can do here is give me just a second, and I'll be able to share this. Oops, hold on.
Okay, Tony, dead air.
I know. I just hit open, and there it is. Screen share.
Helpful. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so there we go. So
Look at the
I don't
sheep.
So what?
know.
You have to hit the
There's
sheep
sheep.
when you're driving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dodge them.
Why is
You get
there
extra
sheep?
points if you take out the sheep.
Yes. I don't know why there are sheep.
Are those
there are
sheep? Toyota sheep?
Those
The
are
sheep are
Toyota,
in the clouds after
Too
you.
interested in the sheep.
Toyota oranges. I don't know what it is Toyota has with sheep.
Why bronze? What Echo
They have
bronze?
8-year-old Japanese girls designing the graphic.
Yes.
All
See,
right,
this is
Tony.
the crazy thing with the gamification. My ranking,
Yeah.
I'm tied for first with everybody else who has that much MPG, and I'm only bronze. How can the people tied for first be bronze? And my eco driving score is 97, and yet I'm 44th. How am I not like tied for fourth?
This is sort of like a little picture of how all Intune apps work.
Yeah, I don't even know how to really read this, to be honest.
Well,
You got to
Except-
aim for the sheep. Aim for
two
the sheep.
sheep
And
mean that you're doing well. 3 sheep mean you're doing incredible.
And if you
Yeah.
see 8 sheep, you fall asleep.
Right. I don't. Yeah. And apparently, in this isn't a painted street, so I'm guessing this is a sidewalk.
Yeah,
Right.
looks like you're driving a bike trail.
Yeah, it's a road made of woven grass.
I don't
Well,
know what the oranges are about.
I don't either.
Yeah.
They're very large, though.
Yeah.
Let's touch on one thing before we go, and because it is time, pretty much we should get wrapped up here. There was a story. I think who's this? Mark's the Cummins story.
Yes.
Mark,
Yeah.
give a brief rundown, please.
I'm still presenting.
Cummins stole the Tesla glory because Tesla is going to have a transportation event coming up at the end of September. And they released their Aeros vehicle, which is an electrified, looks like a mid-range transport truck. No sleeper cab on it, so it's obviously not long haul. And just to give you an idea, the truck is hauling around 140 kilowatts of battery instead of a 12-liter motor, which it typically comes with. And they expect that this vehicle with a load on the back, Paul, with a load on the back, will come up with about 100 miles of range with just the batteries. They also
That's
have,
great for like urban freight delivery.
yep. They also have the ability to pair it with a gasoline generator or a diesel generator motor and push the 100 to 300 miles, obviously, with a motor attached, then giving you some, certainly some stellar fuel economy for this type of vehicle. But it's interesting that they sprang and pushed this out as fast as they could ahead of Tesla's event, which is coming up at the end of September.
Right. Before all the oxygen gets sucked out of the room, they wanted
Right.
to announce it.
Right.
Oh, and they're such big proponents of diesel. For them to get into the EV space is pretty impressive.
Yeah, so there may be some indication here that they understand that the table may be turning, and they have to get in front of the R&D train before it's too late.
It's interesting that Cummins, who I always thought the second half of their name was Diesel, electric vehicles, but Toyota seems to have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange? Yes.
Isn't that strange? I wonder why. That's really cool.
Yeah, I just wonder how serious they are about it.
Yeah. Is this real?
Yeah.
Or are they just trying to say, "Hey, we could do this too. Don't leave us," and then try to string things along? We'll find out.
Yeah. Competition, right? We hope.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
hope.
The one thing that's missing from this article is the video.
The
The
video.
video of the truck being
Oh.
driven around.
Oh, that it's an actual truck. That's
That
not
it's an
just
actual truck.
photoshopped.
Yes. Or it's fiberglass
Styrofoam.
and styrofoam. Yeah.
Nice. Well, gentlemen, let's do some shout outs and go home. Mr. Guzik, why don't we start with you, sir?
I'm going to shout out my company, like I always do, Boulder Hybrids, our website, boulderhc.com. If you're anywhere close to Colorado, we can fix your hybrid or your EV. Hopefully you won't spill milk in the trunk, because it's not a fun job. And look us up. We're here. We're selling a shit ton of hybrid batteries for all the older Priuses these days. So if your
Wow.
battery's going to go out and you want to get some more life out of the car, give us a call.
Wow. Really, you're selling that many old? I guess you're redoing them because they're just.
Well, people say, I could get a new car, or I can spend $2,000 to $3,000 on my old car and drive it for another 5 years. So
Right.
a lot of people are choosing to fix them.
Right. Has that market gotten any better as far as reliability, being able to find older batteries that are reliable?
No, it's gotten much more difficult.
It's gotten
So
much.
we're selling a lot of new batteries, genuine Toyota new batteries.
Oh, well, I mean, at least that's something you can.
And we have cheaper options too for people who don't want to spend the money. But
double A's.
Some of the sort of refurbished batteries that are out there are dying in 6 to 12 months. So if you go that route, you kind of should get rid of the car.
Yeah, you don't want that. Mr. Connor.
Hello. I'm going to give a shout out to Oregon. Half the state seems to be on fire. There's it's sad. There's smoke in the air. You can look up in the sun as a big orange ball that you can stare right at without even having eclipse glasses on because half of it's blocked. And there's ash falling on the ground. It reminds me of when I was a kid when Mount St. Helens blew. It's not that bad, but there's ash falling. It's sad to be seeing.
So just like outside, it's the ash is blowing around, or is it like the wind shifts and all of a sudden it starts raining ash?
No, actually, it's the weird thing. There's a little bit in the air, but it's mostly like it's on your car, it's on your deck, and it's not really falling, or like the wind doesn't kick it up a whole lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of slow and steady, drifting down. Yep, and you can find me at carswithcords.net. I've got a Leaf and a Tesla Model X, and I write about all our fun adventures. And we had a bunch of them this summer, and I'm still posting stories about that. And I just posted a story about when we did the Tesla Model 3 show, my thoughts on that. I wrote about that, and I posted it on the Tesla's Motor Club forum and was told what an idiot I was by everybody there.
Oh,
By the loving community of my fellow Tesla owners.
yeah, it's
Good times.
yeah, they're opinionated folks. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no doubt.
Well, speaking of opinionated, Tony.
I want to remind everybody, if you want to read all the news that we're reading, make sure and check us out online. We do have our Facebook page, facebook.com/whatdrivesus. Make sure and leave us comments, suggest news items. And I know that you are all doing that. We see your notifications. We see your messages. We try to reply to those when we can. Also, if you do use Flipboard as a news aggregator, be sure to subscribe to the What Drives Us magazine. And like I said, I do want to give a shout out to Smart Toyota. They did treat me well, and I do recommend them. One of the few businesses I don't mind putting my name behind and saying, I think you should check them out.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. Mr. Coughlin.
Last but not least, I wanted to, anyone that is interested in plug-in cars, I want you to write down this. I want you to look up National Drive Electric Week, which starts September the 9th and runs for a week. It encompasses 2 weekends. There are events all over North America. Take a look. There's one probably close to you, probably running on a Saturday or Sunday. Go on down there and check out all the EVs and be able to talk to some owners and find out what it's really like to own one. And you can get the real news from people that actually drive and operate them. So please check out the website and see what's in your neighborhood and go down and join them for a couple hours.
Yeah, speaking of which, I plan on taking pictures and video. I will be in Madison. It started as a Green Drive Expo reunion, just a small group of us who wanted to get together and stay in touch. And we did it during the weekend of the drive. So we'll be participating in that and hopefully, talking EVs with people, maybe converting a few people, changing some minds.
Yeah, and if you happen to be in the Ontario area, there's an event in Kitchener that our club is hosting. There's an event in Brampton, Ontario, and there's an event in North York, which is part of Toronto. So I'll be at all three. Come on down and say hello.
Well, yeah, I've got to plug my event. We're going to have one in Tigard at Washington Square. And we will have a car that we just talked about here tonight, and that's the new Nissan Leaf.
Ooh.
It's going to be our show. Yeah.
Very good.
Wow.
Yep, we lucked out. They're touring it around the country, and they just happened to be here the right weekend for us to take it to our event. So it'll be there.
Wow, very cool.
Nice.
Well, as always, I want to thank Michael Mannering for our theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Like his stuff, buy his stuff on CD Baby or iTunes. We appreciate it. And thank you, Michael, for our theme music. We love it. Tony mentioned facebook.com/what drives us. You have to go there. We're at Twitter at what drives us. Strangely enough, it's always
Go figure.
Yeah, it's crazy. YouTube.com/what drives us. Go there, subscribe. You get notified as soon as these live episodes go on. And when we do something crazy like the Nissan episode last night, you would have got a notification. You could have tuned in and told us how silly we were being or not. So we appreciate that. That's about all I have. Of course, another shout out to my friends and my family in Florida as Hurricane Irma bears down upon them. I hope everyone stays safe. Please stay safe. And everyone else in Florida, would you just stop fucking panicking, okay?
Friend of the show, Tom Stengel. Tom, be safe.
Tom, be safe. Yeah, but lots of people.
Yeah, of course. And everyone else.
Down there. Yeah.
Nope, just friends of the show. We don't care about anybody else.
Friends of the show, right.
Jeez, there goes another state. Check them off.
Wait, hold on, my phone's ringing. I got to take this. Okay.
Am I supposed to do the close now?
Yeah.
That's it. It's all over.
That's all we have for this week.
It's going downhill quick. You better end it.
Shut her down.
So, hey, thanks to everybody in the panel. Thanks for showing up, guys. I appreciate it as always. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. See ya.